Today's game is being broadcast in Spanish where available using the SAP button on your television. First time that the top two overall picks start against each other in Week 1 at quarterback as rookies. Jameis Winston against Marcus Mariota, a rematch of the Rose Bowl, which was 255 days ago. Oregon and Mariota won 59-20. Tampa Bay won the toss. They have elected to defer, so Mariota will begin his NFL career first. Kyle Grinza boots it away. And Mariota will be backed up at the 11-yard line to start. And here comes Marcus Mariota. 3 years at Oregon, a total of 136 touchdowns, and he only lost 5 games his entire career with the Ducks.
And you know what, Andrew? I think the thing that's going to surprise people the most about this guy today is how professional he looks already at this early stage in his career. To me, you look at the film, he looks like a pro quarterback right now. I think the future is very bright for Marcus Mariota.
Bishop Sankey gets to start at running back. On 1st and 10. Mariota. High pass, and Sankey is leveled. Major right with the big hit, and the pass is incomplete.
Yeah, and that's going to be a penalty right away for hitting high around the head and shoulders by Wright. It's an easy call on the first play of the game, and you got to keep your emotions under control. Both these teams are going to be really excited to play this. And it's going to be paramount for them to keep those emotions in check. Now for the Titans, they've got to endure the early storm.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, hit on a defensive receiver to the head and neck area. Number 31, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Wow, you know, this is the new NFL, right, Steve Tasker? I mean, that was a good play. The fact that he did go above the shoulders, that's why the penalty was called. He was almost led into the shoulders.
Well, and it's also, he didn't even knock the guy off his feet. I mean, that's how fragile that line is and how thin that line is. The guy, Sankey, didn't even get knocked off his feet, and that was a penalty.
On 1st down, Sankey, and he is stuffed at the line. As we take a look at the starting offense for Tennessee, and they'll start a rookie at right tackle, Jeremiah Potasi, 3rd-round pick out of Utah. And a new wide receiver coming over from the Falcons, it's Harry Douglas.
There you see Harry Douglas. That's a guy that's really going to help Mariota. He needs as many weapons as possible to show up today. Everybody's got to be all hands on deck to help a young quarterback.
Sankey goes out wide to the bottom of your screen on 2nd and 10. Mariota, and Sankey dropped it. It was right in his hands, and it'll bring up 3rd down. As we look at the Tampa Bay starting defense, Gerald McCoy, a 3-time Pro Bowler, now in his 6th year out of Oklahoma. The Bucs will start a rookie who really impressed them throughout the summer, Quan Alexander, a middle linebacker, and Alteron Werner going against his former team today.
Yeah, this is a big game. Alteron Werner going to try to keep those emotions in check. A lot of years in Tennessee. He's a very, very solid cornerback. Good pickup for Tampa Bay.
3rd down and 10. Mariota with time over the middle. Delaney Walker with the catch, and a Tennessee 1st down. Walker all the way up to the 48-yard line. A gain of 22, the first completion of Mariota's career.
You know, when you look at Mariota, I made the comment before the first play that this guy looks like a quarterback. This is what I'm talking about. He takes the snap. Watch him set strong in the pocket. Look at his feet. Look how he's under control. He's going through his reads, his progressions, and he's got that nice, compact, quick delivery, and he's very accurate with the football. Those are the things that excite people when they're talking about Marcus Mariota.
Delaney Walker had a huge season last year, leading the team in receptions and receiving yards. They give it to On the play action, it's Mariota to Kendall Wright. Wright is off to the races, and it's the first touchdown of Marcus Mariota's career.
And Mariota didn't even put his fist in the air. He just stood there as calm as can be, like that's just another 7-on-7 completion. That's what these guys talk about. This guy is cool as a cucumber in the freezer.
Look at the throw. Did you see that? That was a.
Look at him, and he just looks at, watches it like this just another day at the office for him.
Right on the numbers.
The ball handling, everything. Everybody said, now that was out of the shotgun, but he has done everything that the Titans have asked him to do and exceeded expectations at every turn. What a play by the young guy.
A 52-yard touchdown, and now with the new extra point rules this season, Ryan Suckup will attempt the extra point in what equates to a 33-yard field goal, and the extra point is good. A quick strike by Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee offense. What a start for the number 2 overall pick. Mariota to Kendall Wright, 52 yards. And now it's Jameis Winston's turn to try to match Mariota. A 5-play, 89-yard drive for Marcus Mariota, and the Titans capped off by the touchdown pass, the first of his career, to Kendall Wright. And just like that, Tennessee jumps out to a 7-0 lead. Bobby Rainey is back deep to receive the kick of Ryan Suckup. Bounces at the 9, and Rainey will take this one out of the end zone. And Rainey is wrestled down by Philip Supernaw at the 20-yard line. So here comes Jameis Winston. When he was introduced out of the tunnel, he started blowing kisses to the fans here at Tampa Bay. Got a huge ovation, and now it's his turn trying to answer what Mariota did on his opening drive.
Well, he really is like a kid in the candy store. He's a happy kid. He knows this is a great opportunity. He's going to be awakened by Dick LeBeau and this defense today, though, a little bit.
And on first down, they hand it off to Doug Martin. And he is thrown down by Daquan Jones. As we take a look at the Tampa Bay starting offense, they will start 2 rookies on the offensive line. Donovan Smith at left tackle and Ali Marpet at right guard. And a big injury today for the Bucs. As Mike Evans is out, Louis Murphy starts in his place.
Yeah, big shoes to fill for Louis Murphy. They're going to have to get some kind of playmaking out of him if Jameis Winston's going to have success today.
Back to Martin again, and he gets across the 25. It'll bring up 3rd down and short as we look at the Tennessee starting defense, and they are without Sammy Hill, still nursing a knee injury, so Al Woods starts in the middle. Ryan Arakpo coming over from the Washington Redskins, a great fit in this 3-4 defense of the Titans. And in the secondary, Cody Sensabaugh starts for the injured Jason McCourty.
The Titans do have some added free agents that are going to help them, but they're still not as deep at some positions as they want to be.
3rd down and 3 for Tampa Bay. Jameis' first pass, intercepted. Sensabaugh to the house. Touchdown Titans. First career pass of Jameis Winston.
There are so many things to talk about as you see that. Marcus Mariota running a 5-play long drive, hits the long touchdown, and the first time Jameis Winston comes in and throws a pass on a 3rd and short, it's picked off. We spoke to him, and he said when the word was when he throws to his left, he doesn't open his hips. Looked like they got open that time, but he didn't look early enough on the throw, and it was picked off.
He made up his mind where he was throwing that football. That's one of the things that we've heard he has to kind of get out of his mind. He did not respect the fact that Sensabaugh was in good position to make a play on that ball. Bad decision by Jameis Winston.
Sensabaugh in his 4th year with his first career interception. And the extra point is good by Ryan Suckup. What a start for Tennessee and an ominous start for Winston.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Benjamin Moore, paint like no other. And by the 2015 Acura TLX. It's that kind of thrill.
Back in Tampa, and a stunning start. Marcus Mariota got the ball first, a 52-yard touchdown to Kendall Wright, the longest catch of Wright's career. And then Jameis Winston, on his first career pass attempt, goes for a pick six to Cody Sensabaugh. And just like that, the Titans have jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Bobby Rainey back deep again, suck up with the touchback. As we go back to that last pass by Winston.
Well, here's Russell Shepard right here. Cody Sensabaugh right here is just going to cover this flat route. He's under it. He's on top of the read right away. Jameis Winston, I don't know whether his vision was obstructed, but that is the kind of throw you cannot make if you're not sure there's a throwing lane. A bad decision by Jameis Winston. And we expect to see these kind of things out of a young quarterback, so it's not alarming. One thing we do know about Jameis Winston, he has always shown the ability to bounce back.
Let's see if he can bounce back here on 1st and 10 from the 20. He'll go back to the air. His second pass is incomplete. Vincent Jackson, the intended target. Jameis threw 28 interceptions in his career at Florida State, 2 seasons, only lost 1 game, and it was to Marcus Mariota in the Rose Bowl.
We spoke about this in the open, where in his college career, Jameis Winston had a reputation for digging holes and then being heroic in his recovery from them. But in the NFL, those holes are a little deeper and a little harder to dig out of.
Doug Martin on the carry, stuffed in the backfield, Jarrell Casey. And that'll bring up 3rd and long for Tampa Bay.
Well, Jarrell Casey, one of the very best interior defensive linemen in the NFL, the 3rd most sacks for loss, or hit plays for loss among defensive linemen in the NFL last year. So he's a guy that's very disruptive and very important to this Dick LeBeau defense.
Another passing situation for Jameis and the Bucs on 3rd down and 12. Winston chased out by Arakpo on the run, and Jameis will keep this himself, and he is tackled for a 1-yard gain. Derek Morgan held him in check. And Tampa Bay goes 3 and out. They'll be forced to punt.
Well, if they're in 3rd and 12 very much today, they're going to end up coming off the field a lot, because this defense for the Tennessee Titans is built to be in a pass rush situation. A lot was said in the lead up to this game that Tampa Bay really struggled with the Cleveland defense in the preseason, and this Tennessee defense is a lot like that. Same 3-4 linemen, and of course Dick LeBeau is the architect of a lot of that. So there was a lot of questions about how Tampa Bay would handle this 3-4 defense.
First NFL game for Tampa Bay punter Jacob Shum. Dexter McCluster lets it bounce. It's out of bounds at the 36-yard line with 10:16 to go in the first quarter. Marcus Mariota has made the long journey from Hawaii to Oregon to the NFL. He leads 14-0. It's not too late to play NFL.com Fantasy. Join Draft and Play from anywhere with the new and improved mobile app. Sign up for free at NFL.com/fantasy. Second drive for Marcus Mariota. On 1st and 10, hands off to Sankey. And Sankey across the 40 to the 44-yard line, a gain of 8 on 1st down for Sankey. Well, obviously the stats will tell some of the story, but what we'll also be following today, guys, is some of the intangibles for Mariota and Winston.
Yeah, and I think that you look at these 4 categories. This is what I look for when I look at what a quarterback needs to show. Toughness, both mental and physical toughness, poise in the pocket, awareness of his surroundings, the situation, and then give us something to get excited about every game. A few flashes of brilliance. Even if you lose, don't play well, you got to show something every week to get us excited.
Movement on the line, and we have a penalty flag. Today's referee is John Hussey, and this is his first NFL game as a referee. However, Mike Carey told us that he was an excellent line judge.
Full start. Offense number 73. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
And that goes against the rookie Jeremiah Potasi, who is the youngest player on the Titans. He turned 21 last month.
He's the youngest player on a young team. And anytime you get young guys on that front line, you got to think that this is, you talk about the quarterbacks, but there's a lot of guys out there making their first start. Patasi is one of them.
So 2nd and 2 turns into 2nd and 7. Mariota out of the shotgun. They'll throw it to Justin Hunter. Tackled at midfield, but good for another Tennessee first down. Alteron Werner makes the tackle.
Tennessee going a little bit of tempo right now. Trying to do what Mariota did for his whole college career, quick.
Mariota again to Kendall Wright. Another Tennessee first down. Ken Wisenhunt told us that they didn't show much of that tempo in the preseason, but they have been practicing it, and in the right situation, they would break it out. It's working for them right there, but now they'll huddle up.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Mariota was really criticized and questioned about his ability to stand in the huddle and command it, and Steve Berline, you as a quarterback know, that's a tough audience when you get in there as a 21-year-old and try and command 30-year-old offensive linemen.
Yeah, they can read right through you. If you're not prepared and confident, they can tell.
Again, movement on the line, and a penalty comes in.
Well, you get back to that. This is going to go on Tampa Bay. You get back to those signs of success for these quarterbacks.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 51. The defensive player came across and made the offensive player move. 5-yard penalty, first down.
I give that to Marcus Mariota. He absolutely changed the play, got down, gave a hard count, and drew those guys offside. You see him changing the protection, making sure everybody's set. And that's a good sign. I mean, the fact that he's that comfortable under the center, and that was a big question mark. He never had to do it in college, but putting his hands under that guy standing that close to the defense is different.
Danny Lansana jumped for the Bucs. It's 1st and 5. 3 on the play clock. Mariota just gets the snap. Over the middle and incomplete. Nearly intercepted by the rookie Quan Alexander.
Well, Quan Alexander, himself a rookie, he moves out and follows Mariota's eyes and just moves right into the throwing lane. Doesn't bite on the play fake at all, doesn't move up into the run. He watches Mariota's eyes and just flows to the ball. The ball's been coming out of there very quickly by design, and he's starting to get the hang of that rhythm.
7:35 to go, first quarter. Titans lead 14-0 on a Mariota touchdown and a Cody Sensabaugh interception return for touchdown. Mariota over the middle, and the pass is caught inside the 15-yard line. Harry Douglas, his first catch as a Titan.
And once again, you're going to see what it is about Marcus Mariota that gets everybody excited. Look at the feet. He's ready to throw. He didn't have enough space to step into that throw, but his delivery and his accuracy and the strength of his arm still finds a way to get that ball. And that ball it was a poor play by the defender. It should have been an incompletion. Harry Douglas should have not made that catch, but still a very good, accurate throw by Marcus Mariota.
1st and 10 from the 12. Mariota rolls out, wide open to Sankey at the 5. Sankey to the corner, in, touchdown! Touchdown number 2 for Marcus Mariota. And the Titans lead 20-0.
What can you say? We know this guy is athletic, he's mobile. The misdirection, everything's coming left. He swings the ball out right. Under pressure still, but cool as a cucumber. Finds a way to put that ball right on the money. Touchdown, Bishop Sankey, and a big, big lead for the Tennessee Titans early in this ball game.
The first receiving touchdown of Bishop Sankey's career. Mariota with 2 drives and 2 touchdowns. And now Suckup back on for the extra point. He's wearing number 4 this year. Last year he wore number 8, but Mariota was able to take the number away from the kicker Suckup this season. If he keeps playing like that, he's going to keep that number for a very long time.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the new film Steve Jobs, from the screenwriter of The Social Network, in select theaters October 9th. And by Fruit of the Loom. They test their products so you know they work.
Don't miss the man who has everyone talking. It's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Tomorrow, Stephen's got Emily Blunt, and Tuesday, Jake Gyllenhaal. Only CBS. 6:49 to go in the opening quarter. Tennessee has a 21-0 lead on Tampa Bay. Ryan Suckup out to kick it away for the Titans, and once again, Bobby Rainey is back deep for the Bucs. This one bounces at the 12. Rainey from the 3. Across the 20. And up across the 30-yard line as we welcome in the fourth member of our team today, Chris Fisher.
Well, Andrew, Jameis Winston has not been taking this too well so far. After meeting with Dirk Cutter on the sideline following that first interception, going over some of the plays, he's now walked up and down the bench, trying to fire up his team with fist bumps, telling them, let's go, we're not out of this, we can still win this.
Thank you, Chris. Dirk Cutter, his first season as offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Bucs, coming over from Atlanta. Lovie Smith said that hiring Dirk was high on his list, and there is Cutter with the visor on 1st and 10. Pitch it to Martin, trying to get left, and Doug Martin finds a couple of holes all the way up to the 38-yard line, a gain of 6.
And that's what's going to have to start happening for this Buccaneer team to get back into it. Doug Martin, he has shown flashes of his old form throughout the whole preseason. Tampa Bay very excited about him running the way he's running. He's got to do that to keep Jameis Winston in desirable situations where he can play football going through his reads nice and patiently.
Well, Jameis threw a pick 6, as did Doug Williams, the Tampa Bay rookie, back in 1978. His first pass attempt went for a pick 6. Winston on the ground to Martin up the middle with some room. Doug Martin to midfield. Doug Martin in a contract year had a big preseason. Tampa Bay raved about his summer, and he picks up 14.
Well, it's a nice job by the offensive line up front. You're going to see these offensive linemen match up and get to the second level. They're just going to clear a spot for Martin to come through and weave his way through. A hat on a hat, and let Martin pick the path, and you get those defenders on different levels as those offensive linemen get up to those linebackers, and it creates some space for a big run.
The first down today for the Buccaneers with 5:23 to go in the opening quarter. Martin trying to reverse field. Jameis with a block. Martin around the left side. Doug Martin with a first down. And a big assist for Jameis Winston.
And that block, Andrew, literally did make the play. Doug Martin would not have gotten back to the line of scrimmage had not Jameis Winston been willing to stick his head in there. You're going to see him coming in from the top of the screen. There it is, left side, getting in the way, making sure that Al Woods doesn't make that tackle. That allowed Doug Martin to get to the edge and pick up another first down for Tampa Bay.
Everyone we spoke to at the Bucs raved about the competitive fire of Jameis Winston, a true gamer, they told us, and you saw why right there. Not afraid to lower his shoulder as Martin, again, the workhorse, back-to-back 14-yard runs, and he gets the carry again on first down. Michael Griffin makes the tackle.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talk about all the things, and of course, these two young quarterbacks have been under the microscope, but the thing that jumps out about Jameis Winston, that competitive fire, and also his inexhaustible positive attitude. And Chris Fisher told us, running up and down the sidelines, they're down 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I'll tell you what, Jameis Winston can't remember the last time he was down 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, but he is the same guy, positive attitude even then.
Winston still yet to complete a pass. He's 0 for 2. Back to the air here, and he throws incomplete. Pressure was coming from Carl Klug, and Winston just had to throw it away. It's third down.
I think what happened here, Jameis Winston thought that Tennessee was going to be blitzing him. They came up with the safeties. Dick LeBeau, Ray Horton doing a good job of baiting Jameis Winston and changing that play at the line of scrimmage. They were expecting pressure. He checked to a good, solid play-action pass, and Tennessee did what? They dropped back into zone coverage. Jameis Winston had nowhere to go with that football and was under heavy pressure.
Dick LeBeau joining the Titans this year as an assistant head coach, but he will call the plays. Ray Horton still the defensive coordinator. Third down and 7. 3 on the play clock. Winston out of the shotgun fires, and that's his first NFL completion. It goes to Vincent Jackson right at the chains. We'll have to wait for a spot.
Well, in this situation, you would think that Lovie Smith has to go for this on 4th down. Good job by Jameis Winston. You see his feet here, this time underneath him. He had a nice clear lane, threw a good confident pass to the outside. A nice route at the top of the screen there by Vincent Jackson, just short of the 1st down.
Correction, it is 4th down. 4th down.
In inches, and Tampa Bay is keeping the offense on the field. Last year they were 4 for 12 on 4th downs. And before the snap, a whistle and a timeout was called for by Tampa Bay.
Before the snap.
So they will talk things over with 3:17 to go. 3:17 to go in the 1st quarter, and following the Tampa Bay timeout, Lovie Smith still has the offense on the field for 4th down and 1. Jaworski Lane, the fullback, Doug Martin, the running back. Winston will throw. Has some time, steps up, he's got the 1st down, and he slides at the 20 for a Tampa Bay 1st down. That's something they've been working on with Jameis Winston. Dirk Cutter said he didn't know how to slide when we got him here in the NFL. He was so used to putting the shoulder down at Florida State. Looking good there, and 1st and 10 from the 21.
Good poise and composure. Remember, this guy, even though he's not nearly as athletic as Mariota, he did rush for 2 touchdowns in the preseason. He can pick up a 1st down like he just showed us right there.
Again, the Bucs without Mike Evans today, sidelined by a hamstring injury. And the ball is out. Jameis falls on it.
That was Winston all the way. That ball slipped right out of his hand as he was extending to give it to Doug Martin. Sometimes that ball comes up wet from the center. You can see that ball never got into Doug Martin's breadbasket, and Jameis Winston wisely fell on top of it.
Yeah, and that's both those things, both the scramble for the 1st down and then covering this up. You can't do too much. You know, a young guy a lot of times will try and get extra yards on the scramble on the play before, or scoop that ball up and make something out of nothing. It's the right play on both those instances, just to take it and live to play another down.
Loss of 7 and 2nd and 17. Play action. Jameis over the middle, and it's juggled and caught by Safarian Jenkins. Should have been intercepted. Instead, it's 1st and goal for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, this is a really poor decision, and this is the kind of play that really concerns Dirk Cutter and the rest of the coaching staff for Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston decided he was going to throw that football no matter what. He survived. Miraculously, this ball is caught down the field, but this ball should not have been thrown. It should have been intercepted 100%, Andrew. There's no reason why Jameis Winston should have made this throw, and he cannot continue doing those kind of things.
DeAndres Mount had his hands on it. Instead, it's 1st and goal. Doug Martin. And he was tackled at the 7-yard line. Carl Klug in on the stop.
And those are the kind of things your defensive players like the Titans are going to clap their hands and shake their heads at. That's when you should have been piling on, you know, making it day worse and try and get it to go downhill for Jameis Winston. You let him off the hook, give him a little life, and all of a sudden it's 1st and goal inside your 10, and your back's against the wall.
And they have a big target in Vincent Jackson, 6'5". He goes in motion. Final minute of the 1st quarter. And a whistle before the snap. And another Tampa Bay timeout.
That is the 2nd charge timeout, Tampa Bay.
2nd timeout this quarter by the Buccaneers. Well, your weekend starts here with Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network as Peyton and the Broncos go off with Alex Smith and the Chiefs. It's right here on your home to Super Bowl 50, CBS Sports. Chiefs had a big win earlier today at Houston. Broncos in action as we speak against the Ravens. And you can see that last year, Peyton Manning, 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Again on Thursday, the Broncos and the Chiefs.
Chief looked pretty darn good today too. Alex Smith came out on fire. Big, strong first week performance by the Chiefs. One of the things that Steve Tasker and I were noticing on that last play, good timeout by Lovie Smith because Jameis Winston wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Winston, shovel pass inside.
And Angelo Blackson, the rookie defensive end out of Auburn, was not fooled on that play. It brings up 3rd and goal.
Yeah, this is a little shovel pass trying to catch him with some misdirection. Blackson did a great job of staying at home. Watch him just slide down the line and just keep his eyes in the backfield past Marpet. Marpet, the rookie offensive guard. He had his hands on Marpet, but his eyes in the backfield, and allowed him to make that play on the ball.
Keep in mind, this is an area of the field where the Bucs really miss Mike Evans, the big target. That's the end of the first quarter with Tennessee leading 21-0. We'll return to Tampa after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50.
Three receivers.
Start of the second quarter here in Tampa, and a big play coming up for the Buccaneers. They trail 21-0, staring at 3rd and goal.
This is a situation where you got to have a quarterback that's decisive and accurate with the football.
Winston out of the shotgun. Tosses end zone, touchdown! Austin Seferian-Jenkins, the first touchdown of Jameis Winston's career.
There's a little bit of poise right there by Jameis Winston. Sliding out of the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, not looking at the rush, but feeling it, and making the easy throw, what turned out to be a very easy throw.
Excellent job stepping up, keeping his composure. We know this guy's a competitor. We know he's never going to throw the towel. That's one thing that Lovie Smith, Dirk Cutter, everybody you talk to, they said nothing rattles this guy. He keeps believing he's going to find a way to bring him back. Right there, really, really important big play out of Jameis Winston.
And you saw Seferian-Jenkins immediately give the ball to Jameis Winston, who will keep that one. His first NFL touchdown. Extra point by the rookie Kyle Brinza is good. And Tampa Bay is on the board. They trail 21-7.
You see, the pocket is nice. It allows Jameis to step up inside. He feels the opening to the outside. And Seferian-Jenkins did a good job of uncovering, giving Jameis Winston the easy throw for the touchdown.
You know, you think about it this early in the game, and you don't think about much having pressure on you, but you know, even Ken Wisenhunt told us that when we sat down with him, you look at Jameis Winston and his history and what he did in the preseason even, Wisenhunt said this guy is at his best when the pressure's on, and when you're down 21 points in the first half to another team in your first start, that's the pressure is really on, and Jameis really is starting to look better now.
He started 0 for 3 with an interception. Since then, Winston 4 for 4 for 34 yards and a touchdown.
I give credit to Dirk Cutter as well for coming out after all the bad things happened and saying, let's get this run game established. Forcing Duck Martin up there inside quite a bit on that into the first quarter, and then putting him in a good position to get a shot at the touchdown here to start the second quarter.
Bishop Sankey is back deep for the Titans to receive the kick. Antonio Andrews is inactive today with a hamstring injury. So Mariota and Winston meeting for the second time on the field. 255 days ago, the Rose Bowl, and it was all Oregon. Jameis Winston, that was his only loss at Florida State. Mariota, the offensive MVP with 2 touchdowns passing and 1 rushing touchdown. 59-20 was the final. As you look at their numbers in that game, Ducks went on to lose in the national championship game to Ohio State. So Mariota back to work on 1st and 10 from the 20. He's 6 of 9 to start for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sankey around the left side, flag is down. Sankey is shoved out at the 37-yard line after a gain of 17. We'll have to see what the penalty is.
This is going to come back. Taylor Lewan working on the outside.
Holding. Offense number 77. 10-yard penalty. Remains first down.
He's working against George Johnson on the outside, and that's what helped Sankey get to the edge. Right there. I don't know, late in the play, yeah, I don't know, early on though, that looked like Lewan was doing a pretty good job on him. Taylor Lewan, one of the most talkative young players you'll ever come across. But in his second year, you can look for him. He wants to be good. He did a lot of things there at left tackle, knows it's a premier position, and he wants to be great.
He only had one holding penalty last year. 1st and 20. McCluster on the delay up to the 12. Not much doing on first down there. Well, how about the last drive by Marcus Mariota?
Pretty impressive all the way across the board. You see he's always in position to deliver the football. Notice the accuracy. Always on the money. Athletic, getting outside the pocket, making the throw on the move. Not much to dislike about what we've seen from Marcus Mariota to this point.
5 different receivers already here early in the second quarter that Mariota has connected with. Play action, Mariota scrambling. Flag is down, throwing deep for Kendall Wright, and that is incomplete, but flags come in on that. Werner was on the coverage, so there are 2 fouls on the play. One at the line of scrimmage and another marker down where the pass fell incomplete.
Yeah, looks like we might have offsetting.
We're going to get another hold on the offensive line, or maybe an illegal guy down the football field as Mariota broke contain. But there's no question it was pass interference at the other end on Alteron Werner.
There are 2 off fouls on the play, 1 by each team. Holding, offense number 88. Pass interference, defense number 21. By rule, those fouls will offset. Second down.
So Craig Stevens for the hold, Werner for pass interference.
Right there, you see it. He's got him by the out. He's got his hand outside the shoulder, grabbing a bunch of jersey, and that's really visible to the officials. They're going to call that every time. And at the other end, it was an obvious call as well.
Mariota's got to be very careful here, make a good decision with the football.
Pressure coming. Mariota is still holding on to it. Now he loses it. Ball is out in the end zone, picked up by Schwenke. And they're saying that he was down originally.
Forward progress on the field. Third down.
Before the ball came out, they are saying that Mariota's forward progress was stopped.
Well, that's the thing. That we saw Jameis Winston get a big break on what should have been an interception. Marcus Mariota getting a big break here. This could have been catastrophic. You see there in the pocket, right there, they're calling him down. Right there. And then the ball pops out, and then it's a melee in the end zone as Schwenke called him. Well, I don't know what Schwenke was thinking. He was going to throw this out the back of the end zone or whatever. Right there, they're calling him down. And that is a huge break for Tennessee.
So it's 3rd and 28 from the 1. Just looking for some breathing room, and Tennessee will have to punt.
Steve Berline, you said it. Just don't make a mistake with the football.
Right. It's imperative, and we're dealing again with young quarterbacks. Even veteran quarterbacks sometimes make these mistakes too, but you hold your breath with a young quarterback and say, just don't make that game-changing play. You can sense the momentum has already swung now back to Tampa Bay. Marcus Mariota, very fortunate, as you said, Steve Tasker, not to have had a disastrous play there.
Mariota and Ken Wisenhunt huddling up here on the sideline, and now Brett Kern will punt from his own end zone. Rainey is back deep. Tampa Bay should have good field position. Rainey from his own 39. Rainey has some room across midfield. Rainey still going. A late flag comes in from behind the play. A 57-yard punt, a return of 22, but let's see what the penalty is.
During the return, blocking the back, number 27 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's on Jonathan Banks, the third-year corner, but it's Tampa Bay football when we come back. 11:43 to go, second quarter. And let's go back to that play and see if you can listen for a whistle.
It did come, and it did come late. I mean, Steve Berline, you and I both said, yeah, John Hussey, the official, you see him here, he announces that it was forward progress outside the goal line, and that's You know,
and that was the right call.
I agree. It should have been called a little earlier than it was.
The hand did not go up early enough, as we both were talking about, but he went right to the spot where he determined that play was over. That is not a reviewable play.
Tampa back on offense, trailing 21-7. Play action. Winston. He's going to keep it himself, and he's taken down for a gain of 1 on the play by Zach Brown. As Steve Berline mentioned, that play, forward progress, not reviewable, so Lovie Smith could not throw the challenge flag.
And it was the correct call. I mean, he was in the grass moving backwards at the 3-yard line. The ball didn't come out until he was going into the end zone, so it was the right call.
You said it just before. You could almost feel Mariota's desire to make a play on a 3rd and extremely long, and really the best play would have been to throw the darn thing out of bounds and just let him punt it away.
Doug Martin gets the call, and he gets past midfield. Doug Martin off to a very good start in this half, a gain of 6. And he's got 47 yards rushing already before halftime.
Yeah, good strong run behind that left side. In fact, another second-round draft choice rookie. There's 2 of them on the offensive line for Tampa Bay. Donovan Smith, the left tackle, and Ali Marpet, the right guard. But good push by the line there on that play.
Here we go.
On 3rd and 2, Jameis in trouble again, steps up, and depending on the spot, that's going to be very close to a first down. He took a big shot from Wesley Woodyard.
Yeah, that was a good hit, and he's going to be about a yard shy, but he does. You don't want him taking hits like that.
No. That will shorten the career.
Woodyard from behind, Zach Brown hit him square on. So a sandwich there of Winston.
He's going to be short of the first down, and it'll be 4th and less than a yard, but not much less than a yard.
They will measure.
Another situation where I would expect that Lovie Smith will want to go for this. It's going to be less than a yard.
The Steves have good eyes.
Yeah,
and I agree. I think. Listen, I think you're in full rebuild mode here, Steve Berline.
Yeah.
You're down 21 in the first half. You got a young point. Your running game has been the best part of your team. I say you go for it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's no hesitation. There shouldn't be in Lovie Smith. This is the right situation, trying to build confidence in your young team. See what those big boys up front, those young guys up front are made of. See if they can root them out of there and pick up a first down.
Already converted a 4th down earlier in this half. 4th and 1 for Tampa Bay. They give it to Martin. Lowers his shoulder, and that's going to be very close.
Yeah, we got the right spot on the left side here. I think he got
the
it.
near side. I think he did get it. Yeah.
That second effort was a great leg drive by Doug Martin.
Martin has done that a couple of times already today. His second effort has really paid dividends on a couple of short runs and hard runs up between the tackles. And I think right there, the second effort paid off with a first down.
Yeah, he was hit short of the first down mark. Watch the second effort leg drive. He's hit short there, then he pushes forward. I think he got just enough. Boy, it's going to be tight.
We spoke to Jarrell Casey, the great defensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans, and he pointed to Doug Martin as the key player today for their defense. If Doug Martin's playing well, Jameis Winston's going to have a much easier day. And right there, they got it.
Wow. Oh, just barely, but they moved the chains. That was another big hit from Zach Brown of the Titans, but with the spot, and now Wisenhunt is debating, and he's going to challenge the spot.
Well, you can do that, and the only way he wins it is if they lose the first down, and I don't know if I would have challenged that.
Tennessee is challenging the ruling of the field. Timeout.
Wisenhunt did not have a lot of success on challenges last year. He was 1 for 7.
Oh, may have it. His knee was down. We'll see.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AutoTrader. Life happens one car search at a time. Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com. And by the new Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus and the new Galaxy Note 5.
Same time.
Ken Wisenhunt has challenged this spot on 4th down, and here's the call from referee
After
John
review,
Hussey.
I am going to respot the ball and then remeasure.
Well,
if he moves it back, they're not going to get the first down.
Yeah, we already saw
They did.
how
Okay,
close
they don't
it
get
was.
it. They didn't get it.
the
Wow.
players know it too. He moved it back a half a length of the football, and as you saw, they only got it by a quarter of a length.
But you know, I disagree, and we'll look at the replays. I don't think it's conclusive enough to determine where that ball is when his knee actually touches the ground. Okay.
There it is. Now, the ball is in his right hand right there, and there's his knee down.
Our officiating expert back in New York is Mike Carey. Mike, what did you see here?
Exactly what they did on replay. If you can paste this together, if you wind it back a little bit, you'll see where the hash mark is. There's a little divot right inside of that. When the knee is down, you can find the forward part of the ball, and it's short of that mark. It was a good move backwards. This would be short of the line to gain, and that's what I would have done in replay.
See, I'm with Mike Carey, and Steve Berline was very doubtful that would happen, and yeah, there's no question, and we saw it. I mean, they moved it, and that was it.
I'm going to look for this divot that we're talking about, because I don't think there's anything conclusive that tells me exactly where that ball should be.
After review, Tennessee has won the challenge. They keep their timeout. They have both challenges available. First down.
I chuckle because I was right and you were wrong, not really because I care which team got the first down.
Second time today, too.
This must be the divot Mike Carey was talking about.
That's
No,
the knee.
right,
the divot right there.
where the other's foot is.
Now there.
Yes, that's the divot. You'll see the knee down,
Yeah.
and you can still see the ball clearly. It's a good
Oh
shot
yeah, there's
right
ball
down
pumps
the
out
line.
later. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Mike,
Great
thank
review.
you. Terrific stuff back in New York. We appreciate it. So Tampa Bay is stopped 1st and 10 for the Titans with 9:49 to go in the second quarter. Terrence West acquired in a trade with the Cleveland Browns last week, and that's his first carry, a gain of 4. So Ken Wisenhunt has as many successful challenges this year as he did all of last year with 1.
And I'll tell you, you got to tip your hat to, because neither Steve Berline or I thought that was even a possibility. I mean, it was so close, and there's so much traffic. You rarely get those spots on the challenge because there's so much traffic to look through. On that one, he got a lucky break, and there was a good view of it, or at least good enough to change it.
Another hard count by Mariota.
Full start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
But this one goes against his right guard, Chance Warmack.
As we said, we spoke to Taylor Lewan, great left tackle. He talked about his 4 line mates, the 5 of them together. They did not, it wasn't the 5 they went into preseason thinking they were going to be on the field, but as camp progressed, these 5 guys emerged and have become quite an effective unit. And I think the Titans are very, very happy to move forward with those guys if they can all stay healthy.
They traded Andy Levitre before the season to Atlanta. Sankey reverses field. Mariota trying to lead the charge down the field, and Sankey has a Tennessee first down. A gain of 13 for Bishop Sankey. Chris Conti finally knocks him out.
Well, this is something we knew we eventually were going to see. This is the true read option by Marcus Mariota, having the first actual run design play that was called. If he got the read of the defensive end crashing down, he was going to keep that football and take it outside. But you can see, watch him ride Bishop Sankey inside. He's reading that defensive end. Right decision to give, and then him being athletic and a competitor wanted to get down in front of Sankey to try and make a block as well.
1st and 10 from the Tampa Bay 40-yard line. West following his blockers on the right side, and Terrence West across the 30. Another Tennessee first down. A gain of 11 for the second-year man out of Towson.
A great pickup, I think, by the Tennessee Titans to pick up Terrence West. 673 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. The 4th leading rookie rusher in the NFL last year. Very effective in Cleveland running the football. Not sure how Tennessee pulled that trade off, but a very smart move, I think, by the Tennessee Titans organization.
Acquired for a conditional 7th round pick. didn't practice with the Titans until Monday. Gets the call again. This time he is pushed back.
Yeah, we spoke to Ken Wisenhunt about Terrence West, and he said the real problem with West, obviously, as you see a little bit of pushing and shoving, but the problem was also obviously the verbiage, getting the plays out. Now the concepts of the plays were fine. I mean, these guys play football a lot, and there's still only 11 guys on the field, and you take the handoff right, and you take the handoff left. But getting the play and understanding what he was supposed to do was the real problem. And you know that's probably a pretty short play list for Terrence West in this game right now.
Titans already with 8 plays of 10 yards or better. 2nd down and 8 with 6:40 to go in the first half. Sankey back at running back and tripped up at the 24-yard line. It'll be 3rd down for Tennessee. Gerald McCoy on the tackle.
Really going behind rookie right tackle Jeremiah Patasi at this point. Some really good strong push off of that side. That's what you'd like to see out of your young offensive lineman, someone who wants to get after it, get up and maul some of those defensive linemen.
Well, Chance Warmack is a mauler as well. He's a big, huge offensive guard. When he gets his hands on defensive tackles, it's over. So they're going to use those guys and let them do what they do best.
3rd down and 6. Tennessee is 1 for 2 on 3rd downs. Low snap, Mariota fields it to Kendall Wright for a 1st down. Right inside the 10, spinning, turning, and all the way down to the 1-yard line. What a play after the catch by Kendall Wright. It goes for 22.
Well, Kendall Wright had 57 catches last year, not one drop pass. You see the great move inside. I don't know if that was a busted coverage or not.
It was a pick play, and Delaney Walker picked off the inside backer trying to move out. They were falling back into zone coverage, and Delaney Walker moved up into the linebacker and wouldn't let him slide out into the slant route.
That stuff
3
doesn't
catches
happen.
for 88 yards for Kendall Wright and a touchdown, and it's 1st and goal. Fasano, the new tight end, in motion. The give is to West up the middle. And he is marked just short of a touchdown. It'll be 2nd and goal with 5 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. Tennessee only had 6 rushing touchdowns last year. That was the fewest in the NFL.
But that's what West, I think, is here for. He's more of a power back, straight ahead runner. You seldom see him getting stopped at the line of scrimmage or knocked back. He's gonna pick his hole, and he's gonna slam it up in there.
Well, he's 5'10", but he weighs 225 pounds, so he's built exactly for that purpose.
Play action. Mariota wants to keep it himself, and not much room. Great pursuit by Quan Alexander, the rookie that we've spoken of already today. Tampa Bay's last 12 draft picks, out of their last 12 draft picks, 11 have been on the offensive side of the ball. The only defensive guy they've selected in the last 2 years is that guy right there, Quan Alexander.
Well, they got a good one, too.
This is one of those plays where a young quarterback or young player in the NFL realized he's at a different level. I think Marcus Mariota, when he tucked that football, he thought he was going to score, but all of a sudden that door closes. We'll see what kind of opportunity they give Mariota to throw the football here.
With 2 on the play clock, 3rd and goal. Mariota to Douglas for the touchdown. 3rd touchdown today for Marcus Mariota.
His accuracy is unbelievable. I mean, he flicked that thing, and in the red zone, you know this, Steve Berline, you've got to be absolutely on target. The windows are minute, and man, he threw it right through it.
And the timing has got to be there too, because that window opens and it closes. It's quick. And right there, as you said, to have the poise and the composure to find the threads, deliver that ball on time, on the money. I love his delivery. The way that ball comes right out of his hand. Reminds me of Dan Marino, the way that ball is so tight coming out of there.
It was former Titan Alteron Werner on the coverage for Tampa Bay. Harry Douglas with his first touchdown as a Tennessee Titan, and now Ryan Succop for the extra point. And how about this? Last year, Tennessee's season high for points in a game was 28. They have 28 in the first half today against Tampa Bay. Marcus Mariota with 3 touchdowns already in his NFL debut. Week 1 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC and a Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN. And then Week 2 kicks off with Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. What an impressive start for the Tennessee offense led by Marcus Mariota. Harry Douglas with his first touchdown as a Titan, a 9-play, 56-yard drive that took up over 6 minutes. And it's 28-7 in favor of the Titans. Ryan Suckup to kick it away, and Bobby Rainey is back deep for Tampa Bay. And this will be a touchback. It'll be Jameis Winston back out on the field, and he'll start at his own 20-yard line when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football.
Monday, September 21st, the season's most unique new family comedy comes together. Life in Pieces, premiering right after The Big Bang Theory, only CBS. Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers trail 28-7 with 3:47 to go in the second quarter. And keep in mind they used 2 timeouts in the first quarter, so just 1 remaining for Tampa Bay. On 1st and 10, Winston over the middle to Vincent Jackson for a Tampa Bay first down. A gain of 19 for the veteran Jackson, now in his 11th year.
Yeah, really important for Tampa Bay to put together a nice drive and at least get 3 out of this drive before the half. Good start, nice read, and quick decision by Jameis Winston.
Using a little tempo here, not huddling up. Winston bringing his team to the line on 1st and 10 from the 38. Play action. Winston steps up, he'll keep it, has some room, slides down. Again, Dirk Cutter and the Tampa Bay coaching staff has really been working hard on Jameis to eliminate some of the risks that he took in college, and that's a big one.
Yeah, they're in 2-minute mode here for sure. There's urgency on their part to get on the board. It's not the real high energy, high stress 2-minute, but they're trying to get as many plays as possible.
They fake the pitch. Jameis's pass is incomplete. He was looking sideline to Lewis Murphy.
And this is where, Steve Berline, this is what you were talking about. When he throws this, he's moving backwards off his front foot, pushing backwards away from the rush, and that's why this ball falls in there short. When he comes out of his bootleg and starts to throw this football down the field, he doesn't have that discipline to stand up and make the throw. He threw that falling away from the throw.
He gets a little lazy with his feet sometimes.
Quiet here at Raymond James Stadium on 3rd and 2. And the pass is intercepted. What a play by DeAndre's Mount, the rookie out of Louisville. It's the 2nd interception today thrown by Jameis Winston.
And there really is no excuse, but this is another one of those plays. We talked about Mariota when he was running earlier, thought he was going to score a touchdown. Jameis Winston has never played against a defensive lineman that can get up after being cut and intercept a pass like that.
Yeah.
He thought it was going to be an easy throw over the top. You learn these lessons the hard way, unfortunately, folks. He thought it was an easy completion. Instead, it's an easy interception for Tennessee.
Yeah, he thought he was playing a college kid. He's not.
No.
He's playing a pro defensive end who got cut, got up, and is good enough to get up and leap up, not only get up and knock it, but grab it with 2 hands and snatch it, and it's going the other way.
DeAndre's Mount, great play.
6th-round pick out of Louisville, and Tennessee now with great field position. All 3 timeouts and 2:37 to go in the first half. Mariota fakes one way, running the other. And Mariota across the 25-yard line.
Well, that's a design quarterback naked boot on play action. Wow, that's something that you don't see. You'll never see that.
This is a design run.
Yeah, it's designed, no question about it. All the motions coming this way, both backs, and watch. He comes out, and there's no option over there. And he wasn't even looking for one. He tucked that ball deep away in his arm before he even came around, so there's no way he was even thinking about having an option to throw it over there. That was a design run.
Only ran 5 times in the preseason, a gain of 9 there for Marcus Mariota on 2nd and 1. Terrence West spinning his way for a Tennessee first down, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning with the Titans on the move again, already up 28-7.
2-minute warning.
Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. First down and 10 for Tennessee. They have 3 timeouts remaining. Mariota, the pass to Fasano. Room to run down the sideline. Fasano is ruled just short of a touchdown. Knocked out of bounds at the 3-yard line. And how about this play by the Titans?
Watch this. Now, this is actually a designed run-pass option by Mariota. See, he's tucking that ball to run. If the coverage falls off, that was Alteron Burner that fell off to come up and make the tackle. They give Mariota, he's athletic enough to make that read and flip it right over the top. Nobody on the outside. What a great play design that is.
Oh, it's a great decision, too. Great read by Mariota.
But they know what kind of an athlete they have there. He's capable of making those quick decisions.
That's an Oregon play right there. That is exactly the kind of offense he ran all the time he was taking snaps at Oregon.
The biggest play is under review.
Yeah, it's not just a run-pass option. It's not just a run option. It's a run and a pass option. There's 3 options.
That last play was under review. And now here's the call from referee John Hussey.
The ruling on the field stands. First and goal.
Remember, inside 2 minutes, all reviews are initiated from the replay booth. They just wanted to make sure on the spot of that last catch by Fasano. And it does look like he clearly stepped out at the 2 right there. And that's where they spotted. First and goal from the 2 for Tennessee.
Wouldn't be surprised to see something to get Mariota to the edge here again to try and take advantage of that running ability.
Terrence West, the running back. Mariota to West, trying to force his way up the middle. No signal yet. And they're going to say he's down at the 1.
Yeah, no real tactics there. It's like, okay, guys, let's push them and see if we can push them into the end zone, give it to West, and see if we can just back it in. Once you get a running back with his back to the line of scrimmage and his, it's hard to stop him. You got to get enough weight because they've got such good leverage. As we said before, West, a 5'10", 225 guy, is going to have some strength in his lower body. And all those guys, you see the momentum starts to get there, and it's just a race against time as to how many hands they can get on West before the weight pushes him into the end zone.
So Tampa Bay elected not to use its final timeout here. The clock is all the way down, close to a minute, and now Ken Wisenhunt has called timeout as the play clock was about to expire.
Tennessee.
Are you surprised that Tampa didn't use their last timeout there?
Well, I think if you think about it, if they don't get in, they're going to have third down. It's going to, the math, I'm not doing the math quick enough in my head, but you would think that he'd want to try to get the football back with some time on the clock. Maybe you get a nice kick return, and Jameis Winston has a chance to get his team in position for a field goal. Yeah, I mean, that would be, I think, what you'd expect most coaches to do in that situation.
Instead, it's Wisenhunt calling timeout with 1:02 to go. Second and goal from the 1.
There you see Zach Mettenberger, the other young quarterback who had a chance to step in and play quite a bit last year before he got hurt.
The previous play is under review.
So now they're going to take another look at the West run on first and goal to see if he was able to get into the end zone.
Well, here it is. There's 35 you see, and you kind of got to pick him up as they start to unwind the traffic. There he is. That's his lower body there. There's the ball right there. Hold on here. And this is right there is the ball. And that looks to me like a touchdown.
Mike Carey is back in New York, our officiating expert. What did you see here, Mike?
Yeah, Steve, you have it called just right. When you freeze the ball, we have a shot right down the line, and the ball is clearly breaking the plane of the end zone. This would be a touchdown if I was in the booth.
Now, who called for the review? I mean, does this come from the on-field or the replay official
It
called
has to,
down?
Inside 2 minutes.
And called
2 minutes.
Yeah. He saw this same angle and said they need to take a closer look at it, and there it is right there.
And this, in my opinion, should be reversed because we have a shot down the line. and you can see the ball clearly breaking the plane. You can drop a plumb line down, and it's right down the middle of the line.
All right, here's the call.
The ruling on the field stands as called.
So they're not overturning it.
Yeah,
Now, I agree with you on that one, Mike. I thought that was very clear. The previous one, to me, was not conclusive. That, to me, was conclusive.
Yes, but this is not an exacting science,
Yeah.
and there's some judgment in it. But in my opinion, that ball broke the plane, should have been a touchdown.
Agreed.
All right, Mike, thank you. 2nd and goal now for Tennessee. West again, up the middle, and he is stuffed by the Tampa Bay defense. Tim Jennings among the many leading the charge.
Yeah, and that becomes a huge play now with Lovie Smith not using the timeout, because if they get in there, then they do have the time left. But now that was not even close. Great job up front, right down the line. Tampa Bay holding their ground.
Now the clock is still running.
3rd and final charge timeout. Tampa.
But Tampa
We'll
Bay
talk
called
later.
the timeout. They're going to have to reset the
52
clock.
seconds.
And they do.
5-2.
52 seconds. It was all the way down to 38. But the water boy was on the field, so clearly it was a timeout. And it'll be 3rd and goal after Tampa Bay has used its final timeout. Don't forget, coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of the season debut of Thursday Night Football on CBS and the NFL Network. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. So 52 seconds remaining. Tampa Bay does not have any timeouts remaining. It's 3rd and goal for Tennessee. West has been stopped twice in a row. What will they do here for the 3rd time? Mariota to the air, touchdown, Tennessee, Delaney Walker. And that is the 4th touchdown of the half for Marcus Mariota.
9 times as a collegiate quarterback, he threw for 4 or more touchdowns during the course of a game. I don't know how many times he threw for 4 in the first half. He's making it look easy. That was a very simple design play right there. Just drop back and throw it to Delaney Walker, but still the execution absolutely perfect.
Well, that's the thing too, and like we said before, you got to be accurate and on time. And his really, and you said Dan Marino, I was like, wait, pump the brakes. But you know what? Marino had the fastest delivery and the fastest release of anybody I've ever seen.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what you're looking at with Mariota.
There's
a very quick, very accurate release.
No wasted motion. That ball is out of there as soon as he makes the decision.
Extra point by Suckup is good. Marcus Mariota is 10 of 13 for 175 yards and 4 touchdowns. His passer rating is 157.9. A perfect passer rating is 158.3. A near perfect first half for Marcus Mariota.
I think if you ask Ken Wisenhunt, he would say it's perfect. Let me also clarify something. We had the meeting with Ken Wisenhunt, and he was very open and very more so than he normally is with us in these meetings. But he said, hey, we purposely did not show a lot of stuff that we were going to do. That's what every team does going into week 1. So we know this has been brilliant game planning to this point by Ken Wisenhunt and his offensive staff. Let's see if Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans can continue to build now when teams start to understand what to expect out of them offensively.
Well, I think one of the big questions that was answered was, can their running game be as big a factor as they're going to need it to be? Because last year it was not a big enough factor. Of course, they went through 3 starting quarterbacks a year ago as well because of injuries. But today they've gotten good production out of Sankey and West, and it's helped Mariota. And of course, he has been, I got to say, he's been great. He's been great.
Suckup kicks it away. This will be another touchback with 48 seconds to go in the first half. Well, earlier this summer, Tampa Bay wide receiver Vincent Jackson hosted his Youth in Action camp for children in military families. The kids learned about health and fitness and participated in fun activities with the veteran Bucs wideout. Jackson now 32 years old. And guys, if you're Tampa Bay, no timeouts. You take a knee or you try to throw something here?
Well, I think you got to try and throw the football and see if you can make a few plays, try and build some confidence.
Tampa Bay does get the ball to start the second half. Winston already with 2 interceptions, completes this one to Sims underneath. Sims cuts back at the 35. Remember, Tampa Bay cannot stop the clock. They do not have any timeouts remaining.
That's an excellent first down play, though. Nice, easy completion turns into enough of yardage. Now you've got a chance to really put the ball in the field and think about getting the field goal.
18-yard gain and a whistle. Flag comes in.
It's a false start.
Yeah, that was Donovan Smith was one on the rookie left tackle going up against Brian Arakpo.
False start. Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty. Inside of 1 minute, while the clock is running, 10 seconds will be run off. Clock operator, please reset the clock. Hold on. Clock operator, please reset the clock for 13 seconds. 1-3, thank you.
Well, first NFL game as a referee for John Hussey, and he's
laying the law.
Hey, listen to me.
Take
I'm
charge.
the boss here.
And how about Jameis Winston saying, I don't need you, we're going on without you.
Get out of the way.
Get out of our way.
So because of the 10-second runoff, just 13 seconds remaining. Arakpo coming with pressure, and Arakpo was held. There's a flag down. Sims makes the catch, but Arakpo was pretty much tackled.
And a second flag as well late.
And another flag, as you said, comes in with 6 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, they're going to get Donovan Smith for that hold, Andrew, that you were talking about on Brian Arakpo. Big free agent acquisition by the Tennessee Titans. Coming off the edge, a perfect fit for this 3-4 defense.
Donovan Smith was hanging on for dear life as Arakpo came off that edge.
There are 2 fouls on the play, one by both teams, one by each team, correction. Holding 76, personal foul number 99. By rule, those fouls will offset. Replay first down.
Well, now you might think about taking a knee with 6 seconds to go. And 2 consecutive penalties.
Yeah,
you might want to regroup.
Cut your losses here.
Down here, this is the hole down at the bottom.
And here's Jarrell Casey. We'll see what happened on that. It was something after the play.
Donovan Smith just pulling into the ground.
5 seconds left. Winston's pass is incomplete, and that will do it for the first half. And some boos from the fans here in Tampa. They had high hopes coming into this game, so much hype and excitement with Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay, and they go into the locker room trailing 35-7 thanks to 4 first-half touchdowns from Marcus Mariota.
Well, they're not booing in Tennessee right now.
No, they are not.
They are rubbing their hands together and waiting for the next game to happen. Hey, this game is... Wow, this has been a surprise, I think, for everybody.
Let's go down to Chris Fisher.
Thanks, Andrew. 35 points in the first half, Coach. You weren't able to do that in any one game last season. How would you assess Marcus Mariota, the offense's play?
He had a good first half, but, you know, our defense contributed 2 big turnovers. They scored off of 1. We made a lot of plays, a lot of guys that contribute, but too many mistakes. We made too many mistakes in that first half. We got to go in there and get that cleaned up.
2 interceptions of Jameis Winston. How have you been able to be successful?
Our defense has played well. They played disciplined. You know, we had our hands on another one, but once again, we've made too many mistakes. We got to get in there and clean those up. We can't keep stopping ourselves on offense, and we've let them get some runs that they shouldn't have.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Ken Wizen, what is he? We're have sunshine. You're up 35-7. That's the end of the first half. We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message. Start of the third quarter in Tampa with the Titans leading the Buccaneers 35-7. Time now to take a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. Marcus Mariota, his first career NFL touchdown. Kendall Wright on the receiving end. One of 4 touchdowns in the first half for Mariota. Back in the booth with Steve Berlon and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalan. These 2 quarterbacks will be compared against each other for the rest of their lives. No comparison in the first half. A tough one for Jameis Winston.
Very tough for Jameis Winston. This is a guy that has only lost 1 game in his whole collegiate career. Probably never been in this situation. I think his focus, his second half, has got to be on coming out and trying to make positive things happen.
And Steve Tasker, what more can you say about Marcus Mariota?
Well, there's nothing to say. It's hard to even imagine he'd have enough temerity to even dream of his first half going as well as it did. He avoided the enormous mistake, and it turned into a huge half for the Titans.
Bobby Rainey on the kickoff return across the 25, and that's where Tampa Bay will start here in the second half. Jameis Winston, 6 of 12 for 70 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. There's a look at the first half numbers for both teams and those 2 turnovers, both Winston interceptions. Now, the book on Jameis, and we know it well, he has had a number of second half and fourth quarter comebacks in his career, 5 of them, in fact, in his time at Florida State, but a long road to dig out here, trailing 35-7. They'll go to the air on the first play. Vincent Jackson has a first down, then hit hard by Denoris Searcy.
Boy, what a great play by Vincent Jackson. Nice throw by Jameis Winston, but into a headache. Big wide receiver Vincent Jackson right there, not afraid to go up and get that football. Good start to the second half.
Let him go.
Doug Martin on the carry. A flag is down. Martin across midfield. One injury update. Major Wright has a hip injury for Tampa Bay. His return is questionable.
Holding. Offense number 78. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Called on the right tackle, the veteran Gosder Sherilis. And a look at the numbers for both quarterbacks in the first half.
Well, there you go. I mean, that Mariota's numbers are just unbelievable. 0 turnovers, and that's huge. And we said one of the big things for a young quarterback to do is stay away from the enormous mistake. Well, Jameis Winston couldn't do that. And aside from the 1 sack that he took deep in his own end that almost was catastrophic, Mariota has escaped it completely.
Winston is sacked. Brought down by Jarrell Casey, who had 5 sacks a year ago. A loss of 8 on the play.
Well, that was a coverage sack as Winston is back in the pocket. He'll set up, and everywhere he looks, they only had 3 guys out in the route, and all 3 of them, his number 1 option was double teamed on the near side. There was just nowhere to throw it.
3 guys tried to get a piece of Jarrell Casey right there in that play. Tremendous individual effort by him to get to Jameis Winston as well.
Tampa Bay allowed 52 sacks a year ago, 3rd most in the NFL, and they've just got another one. Back-to-back for Tennessee. This one goes to Derek Morgan.
This is just Jameis Winston. We talked about it, his feet get a little bit heavy at times. This is about as easy a sack as Derek Morgan's ever going to get. Jameis Winston should have been able to spin out of this, buy himself a little bit more time, but he kind of gets himself tangled up a little bit with the right tackle. That was Gosder Cherilis backing up into him. But yeah, just when it rains, it pours in these kind of situations.
It's 3rd and 42.
That's the longest 3rd down conversion I've ever witnessed.
Winston, and that pass is ruled incomplete. And it was on a hop. Tampa Bay goes nowhere with their first possession of the second half, and more boos from the fans.
This is going to be a big-time challenge for Jameis Winston. We talked about it briefly at halftime. He's never been in this situation, but knowing him the way that we know him and based on his past, he's going to find a way to try and come out of this and learn from it, make himself a better quarterback, try and not let it happen again.
McCluster on the punt return. And he's tackled at the 46-yard line. Marcus Mariota coming back out. Jameis Winston having a tough day in his NFL debut. 12:23 to go, 3rd quarter. Tennessee with its first drive of the second half. They lead it 35-7. Sankey gets the call on first down, has some room. Bishop Sankey into Tampa Bay territory with a first down and a gain of 16. Well, Marcus Mariota having a phenomenal start to his career. We mentioned this checklist, the intangibles checklist. What do you got, Steve Berline?
Well, from a toughness standpoint, he hasn't been really challenged that much today, so I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But as far as the rest of it, great poise, incredible awareness, and then the brilliance. Give him 4, 5, 6, however many stars you want to give him down there. He's been brilliant today, no doubt about it.
10 of 13 for 175 yards and 4 touchdowns. He has more touchdowns than incompletions. Sankey again, spinning away and across the 35-yard line.
Great run by Bishop Sankey, but on that note with Marcus Mariota, I just think we can't say enough about the fact that he has not made a bad decision today, other than the sack that he took and tried to make too much happen. That's the only play where he's really, you can sit there and say he did something he shouldn't have done.
Look at that.
Yeah, the perfect rating you see on the top left, 158.3.
Wow. That's a pretty good day for your first day.
Of course, Ken Wisenhunt said they had too many mistakes in the first half.
That's a typical coach, though. I mean, he's up 35-7. He's, good coach.
Sankey again. Wisenhunt has a great record in week 1. Oh, the ball comes out. Sankey coughs it up late. And Tennessee has recovered.
And that's the kind of thing, you got to get those kind of balls if you're going to get back in this game for Tampa Bay, and that's exactly the kind of break that Tennessee has continued to get. We spoke about
fumble, recovered by the offense. First down.
Yeah, that ball's out. He was on top.
We spoke about the big break that they got when Mariota was sacked almost in the end zone. The ball came loose and it was deemed down by contact. This is another enormous break that Tennessee gets, that they recover this after the gain as well. And they get to keep that yardage on the fumble as well. So 2 huge breaks for Tennessee that Tampa Bay couldn't take advantage of.
Sankey comes out. This is Terrence West. And a flag comes in.
Holding, offense number 80. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's on the tight end, Anthony Fasano, in his first year with the Titans. Tennessee kept 5 tight ends on their 53-man roster and only 4 wide receivers.
Yeah, that's unusual.
And we asked Ken Wisenhunt about that, and he said because they're all pretty darn good players. He didn't want to let any of them go. There was no wide receiver that stood out as the obvious choice for a 5th wide receiver. He said, we'll keep an extra tight end.
Well, the last wide receiver's got to play special teams. They didn't have one that would fit that bill, but the tight ends all did, so he kept them. And he says, plus, with the condition of college football, there's going to be some good wideouts available next year anyway.
Hakeem Nicks was the final cut, could not make this Tennessee roster. Mariota, screen to Sankey. And just to follow up on that point, I thought Wisenhunt made a fascinating observation. So many college offenses now go 4 wide, 5 wide. There's a lot more wide receivers coming out of college that have gotten a lot of reps, and tight ends are losing those reps. So his thought process was, hey, we've got 5 good tight ends. There's not a lot out there. We're going to hold on to these guys, and that's exactly why he only kept 4 wide receivers.
And you're talking about the run game when you're talking about the tight ends as well. You're not falling into that trap of going after the big play glamour wide receiver. You're saying, hey, we could use a blocking tight end more than we could use a standout wide receiver.
Or another standout wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tennessee has to call a timeout here with the
First
play
timeout.
clock winding down.
Tennessee.
8:54 to go in the 3rd quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. Old Spice. Score a smell down in the smell zone for the Smelltional Championship. And by The Martian, October 2nd, only in theaters.
Following the Tennessee timeout, 2nd and 20 with 8:54 to go in the 3rd quarter. Mariota delivers a strike to Kendall Wright. What a big game for Kendall Wright. That's his 4th catch. And right now over 100 yards. Well, look at this, Marcus Mariota, first quarterback in NFL history to throw 4 passing touchdowns in the first half of his first game.
That doesn't surprise me, but when you think about it, how has he been so good so early? It's amazing.
4th time in his career that Kendall Wright has gone over 100 yards receiving. It's 3rd down and 6. Mariota looking end zone, and it's incomplete. And now a late flag comes in. Justin Hunter, the intended target, and it was the former Titan, Alteron Werner, on the coverage.
And this is in the end zone as well.
Yeah, they were tangled up, no doubt about it. Alteron Werner's got his back to the play.
Pass interference, defense number 21. The foul occurred in the end zone. The ball will be placed at the 1 yard line. First down.
Alteron Werner last night went to the Titans team hotel to say hi to some of his former teammates. Now, he's had a long day here today. His second pass interference. First one was offset, but he's also been burned a couple of times in coverage.
I tell you, it's hard to be a defensive back in this league nowadays. You can't touch those receivers down the field.
So it's first and goal for Tennessee. Sankey, and Bishop Sankey is in for a touchdown. His second of the day, first one on the ground, also had a receiving touchdown, and it's 41-7 in favor of Tennessee. Bishop Sankey had 2 touchdowns last year in his rookie season. He's already got 2 in week 1 this year.
Well, you come into this game, and we spoke about it at the top. Both these teams have the number 1 and number 2 draft pick because they struggled a year ago. And you figure they're not going to be able to turn it around right away. Obviously, Tennessee coming in today and putting it all together on week 1 of this season, and Tampa Bay and their fans all too familiar with this type of performance, particularly at home. They were winless here a year ago in their own building.
And it is silent in Raymond James Stadium. And a lot of the fans have emptied out as Ryan Suckup is on for the extra point. Tampa Bay has not won a home game in 645 days, and that streak looks like it's going to continue. 42-7. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play, every story, and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now. A lot of long faces on the Tampa Bay sideline. They trail 42-7. With Steve Berline, Steve Tasker, Chris Fisher. I'm Andrew Catalan. Thank you for joining us for the NFL on CBS. A big year, taking you right up to Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara. Another touchback for Ryan Suckup. Well, before today, the last time that rookie quarterbacks drafted 1 and 2 played each other was 1998. It was not week 1. When number 1 pick Peyton Manning hosted Ryan Leaf. Manning threw the only touchdown pass of the game while the Colts defense sacked Leaf 4 times. Indianapolis won 17-12. That was the first career win for Peyton Manning. And today, it's the number 2 pick that is getting the better end of the number 1 pick right now, as Mariota has 4 touchdowns. Winston with 2 interceptions. Doug Martin with some room to run, but a flag comes in from behind.
Holding, offense number 70. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Penalty on Logan Mankins. Here's some of the other 1s and 2s overall quarterbacks selected in the same draft. It's the 6th time with Winston and Mariota. And clearly, Griffin, Couch, Leaf, Meyer. It's a rough go for all 4 of those guys. 7th penalty against the Buccaneers for 71 yards. It backs them up to the 10-yard line. Winston is sacked. Derek Morgan with his 2nd of the game.
And it's hard to imagine things going any worse for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than it has already, as Winston steps up in the pocket, just absolutely left him unblocked. I don't know how you leave Morgan unblocked coming off the edge on a simple X stunt, but they did.
Morgan re-signed in the offseason, a 4-year, $27 million contract. Tampa Bay was one of the teams that courted him, Doug Martin. And it will be 3rd down and long for the Buccaneers.
Well, Lovie Smith is going to have his work cut out for him with this team, getting off to this kind of a start. But I think the mentality has to be, okay, guys, obviously this is not what we had in mind. Jameis, rough day, rough start for you, but listen, there's a lot of football left. Let's try to get this thing turned around. Nobody's jumping ship yet. We got to try and find some ways to get this thing moving in the right direction.
3rd down and 19. Winston gets rid of it, and the pass is caught by Adam Humphries, undrafted out of Clemson, but well short of a 1st down, and Tampa Bay will have to punt.
As unbelievable as it sounds, and I know a lot of people have heard this because football guys who watch these films and study it know, the Tennessee Titans are going to watch this film and think, man, we didn't really beat them 42-7. It was a lot closer than that. And then Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to look at it and say, well, golly, it wasn't as bad as we thought. We weren't that far away on some of them. It's never as bad or as good as it seems when the game comes out, and these teams are both going to be able to take a lot of positives and a lot of negatives away from it.
I don't know. This is pretty bad.
Yeah. I'll tell you, though, we'll see. But the Buccaneers are going to have better days than they did today. There's no question about it, and they're going to do it this year.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's, teaming up with the NFL like never before. And by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football.
Be there for the start of its biggest year yet. The Big Bang Theory premieres Monday, September 21st, right here on CBS. 5:30 to go, 3rd quarter. Bishop Sankey running on 1st down for the Titans. They lead it 42-7. Marcus Mariota, 12 of 15, 189 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Most of his plays today have been of the quick, get the ball out of your hand, quick decision-making style of play. But that's really what's been impressive to me. We haven't seen him really push the ball up the field, but his decision-making, the ability to get the ball out of there on time and accurately, and really not make a questionable decision has been very, very impressive.
The last Titan quarterback to throw 5 touchdowns in a game, Steve McNair, in 1999. Mariota on the run. Delaney Walker is open for a Tennessee 1st down into Tampa Bay territory. We go back to New York. An update with JB and Boomer.
Denver's D contributing. I'll tell you what, guys, interception returns are the name of the game today, and this is Aqib Talib. He's going to go back 51 yards for this return of a Joe Flacco interception. Both TDs in this game have been returned interceptions. Denver takes a 16-13 lead as they head into the 4th quarter. Back to Andrew Catalan.
Guys, thank you. And Delaney Walker is still down after making that last 1st down catch, being attended to by the Tennessee training staff. We'll step aside and come back to Tampa in a moment. Back in Tampa, it's 1st and 10 for the Titans. We'll show you what happened to Delaney Walker in just a moment with 4:15 to go in the 3rd quarter. Tennessee leads 42-7. Mariota under center and using up the clock. Give it to Sankey. Bishop Sankey with an extra effort all the way up.
Still alive.
And he's still going. He's not down. No whistle and a 1st down.
I don't know how they let
Titans.
that go. I don't know how they let that go.
Either.
Looked like he was down twice before he actually blew the whistle. They say he must have stumbled down. Now, if nobody makes contact with him, but right there,
his knee was down.
His knee's down there.
But,
yeah, well, he rolls all the way over. Of course he's down, but he's up on his feet there. They'd think that he went down of his just stumbling.
On his own. Wow.
Yeah, but oh boy, I don't know. I think that's a big miss by the officials.
Yeah, that's pretty generous. Lovie Smith does not challenge. And it goes for a 14-yard run, and Bishop Sankey now has a new career high rushing with 70 yards. Last year in his rookie season, he only got 61 as his season high, but he's over 70 today. All right, let's go back to the Delaney Walker catch and take a look at his right hand.
Right there, right as Tandy goes by, the safety for Tampa Bay, Walker tries to stiff arm him, and Tandy gets in on him so fast, but he's walking off, and you can see there as they hold that right hand gingerly, that's obviously where
and he's the guy. He's the guy that, if you ask Ken Wisenhunt, other than Marcus Mariota, the quarterback, the one player they couldn't afford to lose in this offense would be Delaney Walker. He's a legitimate, big-time tight end in this league.
Terrence West gets the call here for the Titans. As you saw, Walker walked into the Tennessee locker room for further evaluation. As soon as we get an update, we'll pass it along.
And this is a play where this last run where Levante David just ran right by West with the ball in his hand, and it just couldn't make the tackle in the open field.
Winston watching from the sideline as Tennessee faces 3rd down and 4. Mariota in trouble, and he takes the sack. That was Jaquise Smith with his first sack of the day, and the Tampa Bay defense will force Tennessee to punt.
Good job bringing pressure on this time. Lovie Smith more active role in the defensive play calling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense this year. They had a right time, the right blitz called, too much pressure. Mariota could not get rid of that football in time. Forced to punt after a big loss.
A 13-yard loss, the second sack of the day for the Tampa Bay defense.
That was a big sack. Took him out of field goal range. Not that, well, yeah, I mean, points are points, and that cost him at least a chance to get to.
Turns punt. Bounces at the 3, and Kaufman, or check that, Supernaw, saves it. Williamson the catch, and how about that special teams play by Philip Supernaw and Tennessee.
That was fantastic. So many times it looks like it's almost impossible for these guys to keep it out of the end zone, but Supernaw comes in, catches it, his momentum's going to take him in, alertly throws it back. A lot of Titans right there to help him out. Great job by the tight end, Supernaw. Those plays are huge, and they really add up if you can put those together during the game.
Week 1 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC and a Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN. Then Week 2 kicks off with Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. What does Steve Tasker know about special teams play? Come on. 1st and 10 from the 1.
Full start. Offense number 87. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
It goes on the tight end, Austin Safarian Jenkins of Tampa Bay, with 50 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Steve Tasker gets so excited about those special teams plays. He's still high-fiving me over here. He's fired up about
They
that.
happen so they happen so rare. They're infrequent, and special teams are kind of going away. But that was a great play.
Another flag comes in.
Illegal formation. Offense. Number 78 on the end of the line was left uncovered. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
I can't believe that they can actually move that ball half the distance.
Correction, that penalty will be declined. 2nd down.
You can decline any penalty, and Ken Wisenhunt wisely did just that. Well, you see there the tight end who shifted needed to step up onto the line of scrimmage and did not do that. He had an ineligible player uncovered, and that's the penalty.
8 penalties today against Tampa Bay. Winston fires, broken up. Leedy Ray Wilson with a beautiful break on that football, and it's 3rd down.
All right, here I am, all right, a former quarterback, and I'm sitting here thinking, what would be the best thing that could happen right now to Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston? If I'm backed up here, you need some kind of a spark. Give the kid a chance to throw the ball up the field. You know these defensive backs right now are going to sit on that routes. They're going to jump everything. Let's see if the kid can make a play up the field, get himself, get his teammates get this stadium a little bit excited.
Tampa Bay has -3 yards of offense here in the second half, and now it's -2. This is sloppy, and it's 4th down, and Tampa Bay will have to punt, although that might wait till the 4th quarter. More boos here by the Buccaneer fans.
Hey, guys, let me tell you, we know how hard it is to be a quarterback in this league. You look at how few guys have had success in the NFL in their first year. There's a lot of football left for this kid.
This is the end.
That's the end of the third. We'll return to Tampa after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Your weekend starts here with Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network as Peyton and the Broncos go against Alex Smith and the Chiefs, who had a big win today in Houston. It's right here on your home to Super Bowl 50. CBS Sports. Start of the 4th quarter, and Tampa Bay is punting. 4th punt of the day is Jacob Shum in his first NFL game. McCluster from the Tampa Bay 48. And McCluster out of bounds at the 35. Tampa Bay ran 10 plays in the 3rd quarter, -2 yards. And Ken Wisenhunt is bringing in Zach Mettenberger. Marcus Mariota's day is done. So Mettenberger, who made 6 starts a year ago, will play the 4th quarter here with a 42-7 lead.
And I think this is the right call. Let Marcus Mariota end the game early, feeling great about things. Let your backup quarterback get some very valuable reps. He's still a very young quarterback, Zach Mettenberger, in his 2nd year. Played very well in some occasions last year. I think they're very comfortable with him as the backup quarterback, but the reps are very valuable to him at this point in his career as well.
Terrence West on 1st down. A flag comes in as West gets across the 30, but we'll wait to see what the call is.
Illegal formation, offense, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Chris Fisher has an injury update on Delaney Walker. Chris.
We saw Delaney Walker exit out into the tunnel during the last Titans offensive series, and what the team is calling a right hand injury. His return is questionable.
All right, Chris, thank you. Ken Wisenhunt and the Titans hoping that's not a serious injury, as Walker was their leading receiver last year. First and 15 following the penalty. McCluster on the carry. Dexter McCluster really did not have a big season last year for Tennessee in his first year with the Titans, and he said in the offseason he wants the ball more. And we spoke with Ken Wisenhunt a lot last year, and it was just really finding the right spot for McCluster. They never seemed to find that last year with him.
Well, who did have a big season last year for Tennessee? Not many of them, but you're right, though. Dexter McCluster is a guy that you would think would be a spark to an offense. If you can find ways to get the football to him, you got to be creative. You got to make it a priority, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we've got a stoppage now with one of the players was slow to get up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was going to stay in, and this came down from upstairs. The observers, they saw Lansana a little unsteady on his feet, and they stopped the game from upstairs in the booth, and they're going to give him once going over, and he was going to try and stay in the game, but wisely the league stopped it, and they're going to give them a chance to regroup and give him a thorough examination. Don't know that they're going to give him the concussion protocol. He looks like he's limping more than.
But it's part of the new concussion
Absolutely.
protocol. They can stop the game.
Yeah, and they'll actually look at the replay. See there, you see he's grabbing his ankle, and that's the problem. That's why he wasn't up quickly.
On 2nd and 10, this is West spinning his way up to the 29-yard line. DJ Swearinger, in his first season with Tampa Bay, makes the tackle.
We can clarify that, too. We were talking about concussion protocol. If indeed that did come from upstairs, we don't know. But it looked like he was grabbing his ankle there when you look at the replay.
So the Titans will huddle up and try to work the clock. There's Lansana, and they are working on his left ankle.
Yeah, that's one of the team trainers. There is also an independent neurologist down there that will look at if they suspected a concussion. That doesn't seem to be the case here.
And West is wrestled down by Gerald McCoy. And that's going to be short of a first down. The new safety rules this year, just to clarify, the referee is the first guy. If he sees a guy who looks a little wobbly and might have a head injury, he can tell the player to come out. And if the referee doesn't see it, then it can come upstairs from the person that Steve was just talking about. But in this case, Lansana has an ankle injury, and they're going to say there was a fumble on that last play by West. George Johnson recovers. So it'll be Tampa Bay football. As you see, West wrapped up, and the ball did come out.
It was.
12:36 to go, fourth quarter. Tennessee with a 42-7 lead. How about Super Bowl 43 here in Tampa? Ben Roethlisberger and Kurt Warner were both looking for their second Lombardi trophy, and with 35 seconds remaining, the Steelers had one last shot to win the game. Of course, Santonio Holmes with the miraculous catch as he got both feet inbounds to score the game-winning touchdown. The Steelers won 27-23, became the first team to win 6 Super Bowls. Of course, Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach at Arizona at the time, and his assistant head coach, Dick LeBeau, was the defensive coordinator for the Steelers. Back here in Tampa as we go down to Chris Fisher.
Well, Andrew, the Northwest end zone represents heartbreak for Ken Wisenhunt, but that's not the case for Titans assistant head coach Dick LeBeau. The last time the two coaches were here at Raymond James Stadium were on opposing sidelines during Super Bowl 43. This end zone in the northwest corner is where Santonio Holmes made a last-minute game-winning touchdown catch, delivering the defensive coordinator at the time, LeBeau, and the Steelers the Vince Lombardi Trophy over Wisenhunt's Cardinals. Wisenhunt says it still stings to this day.
Yeah, and Wisenhunt told us yesterday that not only is he staying in the same hotel that he did with the Cardinals, he thinks he's actually in the same exact room. Thank you, Chris.
Still one of the greatest throws, I think, in Super Bowl history. That throw, the placement of that ball in the corner, and a phenomenal catch. Just a classic clutch play by great football players.
Well, Ken Wisenhunt said when he coached Ben Roethlisberger early in his career to one Super Bowl as offensive guy, that's why he and Dick LeBeau had a history. Ken Wisenhunt was once a part of that staff in Pittsburgh as well, and he knows that Ben Roethlisberger is so accurate when he moves. He said that's kind of what Mariota brings to it as well. Very accurate even when he's moving.
Nice pass there from Winston to Adam Humphries, the rookie out of Clemson.
And I like what I'm seeing, too, the way that Jameis is still showing urgency out there, still competing, making good throws, moving the ball. Every touchdown, another offsides false start by the Tampa Bay team, but every successful play goes a long way in building the young guy's confidence.
Neutral zone infraction, defense, number 91, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's a great job by Sherrills, the left tackle, or the right tackle of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Morgan jumped into the neutral zone, and Sherrills just stood up and pointed right at him and got the false and got the encroachment. If he doesn't move, it's not a penalty.
Miscommunication there, Winston and Charles Sims. Luckily for Tampa Bay, Sims was able to hang on to the football.
Yeah, watch this ball handling. That ball. Jameis trying to help him gather that in. Watches this ball. It pops loose up there, and Jameis trying to push it down his chest.
Winston incomplete, looking for Humphries again.
A nice break on the ball by free agent acquisition this year, Parrish Cox, a guy that Ken Wisenhunt told us yesterday really has brought an intensity, an edge to this defensive secondary. Nice anticipation, a good break on the ball there.
Yeah. The couple of free agents they brought in the secondary, Cox and also Denoris Searcy. Those two guys have really brought a physical edge and a grit to that secondary that they were missing a year ago.
Tampa Bay just 2 for 10 on third downs today. This is 3rd and 4. Flag is down. Winston off his back foot completes the pass to Sims. Great moves by Sims to get a Tampa Bay first down. Let's see if the play stands because of the penalty. If it does, it's a gain of 9.
Illegal formation, offense. They showed the tackle uncovered. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
That's the second time.
You know, it's a shame, too, because this one really was a good play by Jameis Winston. You watch him here. He senses the pressure, timed very well. You see coming right up the gut, Avery Williamson, but Jameis Winston moving away from that pressure, sensing it, and getting rid of the ball accurately. They would have picked up a 1st down had they not been in an incorrect formation.
Both of Winston's interceptions came on 3rd down. This is now 3rd and 9 following the penalty. Winston sideline, and that pass is caught by Safarian Jenkins, but he goes out of bounds a yard short of the 1st down. Zach Brown had the coverage on the play.
Safarian Jenkins at the bottom of your screen. He is a big target. Doesn't do him justice. He's
6'5", 260.
He is an enormous target.
It's 4th and 1 for Tampa Bay.
Almost 2.
Winston out of the shotgun. Quick pass caught by Safarian Jenkins for a 1st down. Still going. Breaks a tackle, and he'll walk it in. 2nd touchdown of the day for Austin Safarian Jenkins. Michael Griffin missed a tackle. And now it's 42-13.
Now this is exactly what Tampa Bay needed in general. Jameis Winston, a good quick decision, an accurate ball. Safarian Jenkins breaks a couple tackles, takes it to the house. As you said, Steve, that's a big man, a very athletic big man, though. Let's just make sure that's very clear. He made a lot of plays last year as a rookie. Very high hopes for him going forward, and good for the confidence of this whole team to see that happen at this point in the ballgame.
41-yard reception, the longest of the 2nd-year man's career. He had 2 touchdowns all of last season. He's got 2 here in week 1. 2nd touchdown pass for Jameis Winston, and it's 42-14.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Black Mass from Warner Brothers Pictures. In theaters everywhere September 18th. Verizon. Watch live primetime games with NFL Mobile only on Verizon. And by Michelob Ultra, the superior light beer.
He didn't play tonight.
Dallas. 42-14 in favor of the Titans with 9:18 to go in the 4th quarter. Kyle Brinza, the rookie out of Notre Dame, boots it away and right through the end zone and touchback. It'll be Tennessee football at the 20 when we come back. Saturday, it's the best game from the best conference when the SEC on CBS brings on Jeremy Johnson and Auburn against Brandon Harris and the Bayou Bengals from Death Valley. See who winds up top cat, and the hoopla begins with college football today. Zach Mettenberger in at quarterback, an LSU grad, 6th-round pick last year for the Titans. Hands off to Terrence West on 1st down. With Steve Berline, Steve Tasker, and Chris Fisher, I'm Andrew Catalan, our entire CBS crew, director Jim Cornell, producer Victor Frank, and with 9 minutes to go, Tennessee looks to end a 10-game losing streak. They lost their final 10 games of the season last year en route to a 2-14 record. Mettenberger to Dorial Green Beckham. That's his first catch of the day. There is a flag down.
Holding, offense number 70. 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And that one comes off the board. It's called on Chance Warmack. That's his 2nd penalty of the day.
When you talk about this Tennessee team and how it's gone, of course, Mariota's been the centerpiece, but their run game has been great, and a lot of it is because Mariota's been so efficient in the passing game. They can't stack up in the run as you would normally against a young quarterback. I think as this game wears on, you notice that They wanted no part of Mariota, the ball in his hands. They'd rather have him hand it off. They had to start dropping off. It took the starch out of the pass rush, everything. When that quarterback plays the way Mariota did today, everything else looks better. But he was aided by Sankey and West in the running game.
West again on the carry across the 15, and that catch is wiped off for Dorial Green-Beckham, but Tennessee has high hopes for the second-round pick. As we mentioned before, they only kept 4 wide receivers. They have a lot of confidence in the rookie to be one of the 4.
Well, he's a big, big man. I mean, you're talking about a guy that is 6'5", 235 pounds. Yeah, his 2013 season at Missouri, he had 59 catches for well over 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's a guy that I really am excited to see play football in the mold of a Julius Jones, Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant, big physical receiver, go get the football.
On third down, Tennessee will just keep it on the ground. We met with Green-Beckham last night, and Steve Berline, you asked him, what are your strengths? And he said, I'm big and I can run. Pretty much summed it up.
Well,
6'5",
and I know
230.
Yeah. And he says, and I can high point the ball. No kidding. Here I'm standing. I played receiver for about a minute, and I'm 5'9". If I wish I was 6'5", I could high point the ball.
This is where your head comes up, right here, right in the middle of his numbers.
Yeah. He is even in a suit and tie like he was yesterday. He's a big dude.
Oh yeah, I mean, very, very impressive physical young man, but also I think a guy that really, through his well-documented issues coming out of college in Missouri, got in trouble a little bit, didn't play the 2014 season. The NCAA would not let him play at Oklahoma after he transferred, but a guy that really is excited about this opportunity, and I'm excited for him.
Marcus Mariota thought he could be a difference maker. No catches today as Rainey is drilled on special teams. 7:04, make it 7:03 to go in the fourth, 42-14.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by a Subway footlong. There's nothing bigger, nothing better. Subway, eat fresh. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
.7:03 to go in the fourth quarter, and Tampa Bay back on offense, 1st and 10 for Jameis Winston and the Bucs. Winston's pass is reeled in by Charles Sims. 12th completion of the day for Winston. It goes for a gain of 5.
It looks like they're letting Jameis go a little bit up tempo, which I like. Let's get him some experience doing these different things that he's doing for the first time at this level.
Goes to the sideline here, and that pass is brought in by Russell Shepard. Again, Tampa Bay without one of its big targets on offense today. Mike Evans not able to go with a hamstring injury. Well, there's no doubt that one of the things that everyone in Tampa Bay, when we met with them on Friday, they loved about Jameis was the fact that he has a short memory. And he can forget a bad pass or a bad game very quickly. And they'll be banking on that to be true following this one. Winston over the middle, dangerous pass is incomplete as we check in with Chris Fisher.
Danny Lancina, Sam linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will miss the rest of the game with what they're calling an ankle injury. Currently, he's on the training table with ice on it.
All right, Chris, thank you very much.
You were right there, though, Andrew. That was a very, very poor decision again by Jameis Winston. He had Vincent Jackson on the left side of the field, one-on-one on a deep curl route, which would have been a nice, easy throw. He tried to jam it in over the middle.
Now 2nd and 10. Over the middle, Jackson sliding catch to the 40 and a first down for Tampa Bay.
You know, we talk about how, this game is obviously out of hand. The Titans are going to win it big, but, I'll never forget, a good quarterback told me one time he learned a lot of really good football lessons in the fourth quarter, some bad football games, and Jameis Winston still has a lot to learn, and all of these reps are going to make a difference. Maybe not today, but certainly as the season wears on, all these reps will add up to make him a better football player as the season wears on.
And you know who else is paying attention right now to this, to how he carries himself? His teammates. His teammates are watching him, whether they're consciously watching him or, you know, not intentionally watching him right now. They're taking it in, how he carries himself, how he competes, how he presents himself, his attitude. They're all watching. He can win them over from a respect standpoint by carrying himself right.
Broken play there. And keep this in mind as well. Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck in their first NFL games, they each threw 3 interceptions. In Peyton Manning's rookie year, he threw 28 interceptions on the season. He turned out to be okay.
Let me say this. There are 2 quarterbacks that I can say played well as rookies their first year. Dan Marino had an exceptional year. The other guy, a guy who's struggling right now, RG3, had a great rookie year.
Safarian Jenkins with another catch in open space and out of bounds inside the 10-yard line.
And that was the first one we've really seen Jameis Winston rip a football in. That was a nice throw. But it is very, very hard to be successful for a young quarterback in this league. Everybody's gone through it. See how he stepped into that thing though and ripped it? That was a nice shot up the field. Under pressure.
First and goal from the 8. Winston. And that one sails high.
And that was a good decision to throw that one out of the back of the end zone. Vincent Jackson was covered completely by Bleedy Ray Wilson.
Well, go down the list of anybody you want to go down.
Here it is.
Yeah, and you can make this list as long as you want. You can go to the John Elways. You can go to anybody you want to go to, and you're going to see a lot of these, and you're going to see a lot of these things right here, these interceptions. Those are things that young quarterbacks do on a regular basis, but the good ones, the great ones, fight through it.
Second and goal. Winston, end zone, and is that a catch by Jackson? Did he keep his feet in? No.
Oh, I want to see that one.
Wow, that looked like a pretty good catch.
Went up to get that one.
That's the reason Vincent Jackson is on this team too. That's why he's been a great receiver, productive receiver, is his ability to do that right there. That to me is 1 foot down. Oh, I think that's a catch.
Both toes were in, right?
Both toes were in. The heel comes down. That's like a toe tap. We know the left foot is in. The right foot.
The toe is in.
Yeah.
It looked from. I mean, it looks like it.
I think that's a catch to me. Now his heel does come down. He's got the control of the ball.
But that's where the toe, you can see where that right toe hit.
Right.
Well, why would they not review that?
Lovie Smith does not challenge the call. It's third and goal. Winston in trouble, just chucks one out of the end zone.
Yeah, and that's right there is also a lesson. Now, Jameis Winston did the right thing, but as he tried to break contain, he was going to wheel around and go deep. And Tennessee's not going to have any of that.
I'm not sure why you don't challenge there.
I agree.
What do you have to lose at this point?
Now, there's no question Jackson's heel came down out of bounds.
Yeah, but the toe hit first.
But the toe hits first.
And I think you got a really good chance at overturning that. And even if you lose, it's a big deal. You're losing 42-14.
Yeah, very close. Certainly worthy of a challenge. Instead, it's fourth and goal. Winston looking for Jackson, and that one is good.
Who are they going to call?
There is a flag down. Who pushed? The offense or the defense? It's on Jackson. Offensive pass interference.
Wow. Pass interference. Offense number 83. 10-yard penalty. Third down. Fourth down, excuse me. Correction.
Well, let's look at it. That's another big physical receiver, Vincent Jackson. I mean, what do you think, Steve Tasker?
Well, as they turn around, he gives him that last push with his right hand, and that's what did it. And you can see when he put his hand on him, you could see Bleedy Ray Wilson kind of recoil from the force of the push. That's all it takes. It's a good call.
Yeah, that arm was extended,
That's what got that little bit of extra separation.
Yep.
It's been a long drought for Jackson. 61 catches since his last touchdown. You got to go all the way back to week 4 from last year, and he had 2 great chances here on these last 2 plays, and he still can't break his touchdown drought. So fourth and goal from the 17. Winston over the middle, incomplete, but a flag comes in. And this might be going against Tennessee now.
And Marqueston Huff coming in over the top of Safarian Jenkins. And I think that's what the call is going to be. Went through the player to get to the ball.
Before the pass is thrown, illegal contact, defense number 52. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's on Steve Johnson, who was claimed off waivers last week from Denver. And an automatic first down for Tampa Bay with 4:20 to go in the fourth.
This is good work, though. For you try to find positives at all these situations, and for Jameis Winston to get this many reps in the red zone, he's made 2 nice throws on the 2 that could have been touchdowns with Vincent Jackson. This is the hardest area of the field to have success as a passing quarterback.
Rainey on the delay. Rainey to the 5 and still going, and finally brought down. The ball comes out late, but they're saying he was down.
That's a nice hard run down inside the 15-yard line, and that's one of the things that if you want to be a good red zone team, you don't throw it every down. Your running game comes into play, and the teams that run it the best down here are the ones that are most successful. It seems obvious, but even a 4-yard run on a 1st and 15, now this is better than that, but those are huge because the defense still has to cover every inch of the field.
Inside 4 minutes to play. Winston fakes the shovel pass wide, inside to Rainey, and he's down to the 1.
Now this counts as a forward pass, the fake pitch, and then the misdirection. Saw him run this play on Friday.
First and goal from the 1. Rainey. And a flag is down. Rainey was stopped short by Wesley Woodyard.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 76 was left uncovered.
Well, that is
5-yard penalty, first down.
That's the 19th penalty of the game. 11 against Tampa Bay.
And these are basic football things. He's got to have a player lined up on the line of scrimmage outside of him towards the sideline, and
that's at least the 3rd time today they've called
that's
that
the 3rd time.
Winston incomplete, was looking for Vincent Jackson. Well, last year Tampa Bay had 68 offensive penalties. That was the most in the NFL, and unofficially today 8 of their 11 penalties have come on offense.
Formation penalties are the easiest to avoid. I mean, it's even the tackle should have known and said something before they snapped the football, or when they got lined up. They need to have that guy out there. It's really amazing.
Winston on 2nd and goal. The ball came out, and Winston fell on it. And a little extracurricular at the end of this one.
Trying to protect the big boys, trying to protect their quarterback.
What did he do?
Yeah, Carl Klug, who is a high motor guy. That ball popped out. He jumped on Winston, tried to wrench it away, and they got into a wrestling match. And when the offensive linemen turn around and see what happened, and they see a guy wrestling around with their quarterback, and you see there, Klug got in there late. He stayed after it. His offensive lineman didn't like it. Yeah.
3rd and goal. Winston rolls out, fires high, incomplete, nearly intercepted. Steve Johnson had a chance to pick that one off. Instead, it's 4th and goal.
Winston, it's one thing he does well. I mean, he has done well the entire game. He keeps his eyes down the field when he's moving around in the pocket. A lot of young quarterbacks start to look for a way to tuck it and get some yards. Obviously, in this situation, there's no way he's going to run it in, but he always has kept his eyes down the field, and that's going to be an asset. Now they got another penalty.
This is unacceptable.
Full start. Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Penalty number 12 today against Tampa Bay, and another one on the offensive side of the football.
Well, for all the positives there may be for these, and we mentioned there's going to be some positives despite what you see on the scoreboard. That's one of the things that's going to be a little embarrassing. Those penalties have got to be unacceptable. 4th and goal. Winston incomplete.
Not sure how Damian Stafford didn't hold on to that one, but he didn't.
Oh my gosh, that is all. It's all he could do not to catch that. He fought that ball off. like it was a moth in his face.
Yeah, and Jameis Winston right there was expecting Vincent Jackson to come across his face and get in front of that safety over the top. You know, trying to take a chance. It's not a ball that you would want to throw on a regular basis, but when you're 4th and goal from the 20-yard line and you got 2 minutes left losing like this, you take a chance.
It looked like Vincent Jackson actually may have gotten a hand on that before it came to Stafford. Either way, it's incomplete. Jameis Winston to the bench, 16 of 33 for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And with 2:12 to go, Tennessee is just going to take a knee. That'll take us to the 2-minute warning, and a long day for Jameis Winston. 42-14 in favor of Tennessee. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and the biggest fitness phenomenon in the world, followed by a new Big Brother, Madam Secretary, and CSI Cyber. Tonight, only CBS. Well, Jameis Winston talking things over with Dirk Cutter as Zach Mettenberger takes a knee. And how about this? Jameis Winston, in his career, is now 0-2 against Marcus Mariota and 26-0 against everyone else. The only 2 times Winston has lost, the Rose Bowl to Oregon and Mariota, and today to Tennessee and Mariota. We asked Jameis on Friday, when was the last time you lost 2 games in a row? And he goes, honestly, I cannot remember. Not even in high school. He goes, no, I really don't know the last time I lost 2 games in a row. Well, it's now, the Rose Bowl in this game. All right, Steve Birdline, let's take a look at your final intangible checklist for Jameis Winston today.
Well, let's not get carried away. This was not a good day for Jameis Winston, but I do believe he showed a lot of toughness today. Mental toughness and physical toughness in a difficult situation. Poise, you can't give it to him. I think he made some poor decisions throughout the course of this game. Learning experiences and opportunities for him. Awareness, it just was not a good, sharp day for him from a decision-making standpoint. He did show a couple of plays during the course of the game where I did think he saw the potential, his ability to make plays down the field, and those are really the things you look at out of a young quarterback. You want to see if he can show you those flashes to get you excited.
Tennessee calls timeout with 37 seconds remaining, and they'll punt this one back to Tampa Bay. So Marcus Mariota, done for the day, was out after the 3rd quarter. 13 of 16, 209 yards, 4 touchdowns. That adds up to a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. Jameis's numbers add up to a 60.4 quarterback rating.
Well, I can tell you this, guys, and we've talked about it a little bit during the breaks. Marcus Mariota is smiling right now. Tennessee's smiling right now. He's going to have a lot of tough days himself this year, and I'm not wishing that on him. And I hope the people in Tennessee understand I'm not, wishing any bad things on Marcus Mariota. But he is a rookie. He's going to have some long days out there.
"60 Minutes is coming up next, except on the West Coast. For Tennessee, this is their first win since October 12th of last year when they beat the Jaguars. It was a 10-game losing streak to close out the season. And Ken Whisenhunt, I find this stat interesting, is now 6-2 in Week 1 games. They won their Week 1 game last year in Kansas City. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay has now lost 10 straight home games. They haven't won at home since December of 2013.
Sunday!
Winston with 29 seconds to go, and they'll just hand this off to Rainey, and that should do it. It was all Tennessee and Marcus Mariota from the start. On the first drive, a touchdown pass to Kendall Wright. On Tampa Bay's first drive, Jameis Winston, a pick 6 to Cody Sensabaugh. And it all adds up to a 42-14 win for Mariota and the Titans. Mariota and Winston embrace second straight time that Mariota has defeated Winston, the Rose Bowl and here in week 1. Once again, the final score, Tennessee 42, Tampa Bay 14. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes. That is coming up next, except on the West Coast, followed by Big Brother, Madam Secretary, and CSI Cyber. For Chris Fisher, Steve Tasker, Steve Berline, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Tampa. You have been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50.